Hey everyone, so for this video I'm going to show you how I came back from a knee injury and still got bouncy. So our first exercise, which I usually use as a warm-up, is going to be single leg deficit steps. Start with a small step and just step down nice and gently, never putting too much pressure onto the ground. I also like to use a light weight to help give some more resistance. Next up, we have ice skater hops, which is just a variation on ice skaters. All we're going to be doing is adding a little hop at the end of each lateral bound in our ice skater. I like to use a little elevated platform, but if you want to use a weight plate laying down or a step or anything like that, go for it. Next, we have a bouncy man's favorite, and that is the kneel to jump. I use a slight weight for this just to help with balance and challenge myself a little bit. But the point of this exercise is to help you generate explosive power even from a limited range. And this will really translate into increasing your jump height by letting you use the full range of your muscles. Next, we have my favorite hamstring curl variation. This is the Swiss ball hamstring curl. I like it because in addition to forcing you to really use your hamstrings to draw the ball inward towards your core, it also requires that you use your glutes, adductors, and abdominals to help stabilize your hips and keep them elevated in the air. Now, if you're doing this correctly, your hips should never get close to the ground and your butt should always be suspended. That way you get a little bit of that isometric resistance as well. Next up, we have what I call the kettlebell two-step. This one is less about building explosive strength and more about having speed and accuracy when it comes to engaging in plyometrics, which can be just as important. Now we're on to the big boys. This is the seated impulse squat with a light weight. Here I'm holding a 36-pound Revo bar, and the goal for this one is to go from a seated position into a high jump squat. Now you might notice that I'm raising my knees and then slamming my feet into the ground to jump up. This is to limit my impulse, which is the time that my feet are on the ground before I jump. Now we're going to go ahead and need mini hurdles and a soft box to move on to the lateral hop and box jump. This is all going to be done on a single leg. This was a terrifying exercise for me to move on to during my physical therapy journey after my ACL surgery, but it was highly necessary, and this is one of the most important exercises that I did in getting my hops back. So as you can see, with each run, I lean onto my leading leg and I hop over each hurdle as fast as I can and then give it a nice high box jump at the very end. I want to land stably on the box and be able to push myself all the way up so that I can switch from speed with the hurdles to power with the box. If you're still early on in your recovery process, I do not recommend this exercise. You're going to need a lot of physical and mental confidence before you get to this one. Now we're going to be moving on to the seated impulse box jump. This is very similar to the seated impulse squat jump, but now we're going to be landing on top of a box as well. Here I'm using 6-pound weights, and I don't want to use anything too heavy. I also don't want to jump onto a box that's too high. The goal for this one is to shorten my impulse and be able to land really high on the box, ideally in a standing position like this. And last but not least, we're going to be rounding out this workout with sled push. I don't have any recommendations for weight or distance. Just make sure that you have enough weight to provide adequate resistance, and make sure you have enough distance to at least take several steps. Like I said, you're just going to be doing this until you're burnt out. It sucks, but that's how we learn to do it in track and field and rugby. And it's one of the best exercises for strengthening your knees, as well as all the muscles surrounding them, primarily your quads. But that's it. So just make sure you give it a lot of energy and a lot of focus.